our tipuna were naturalists, so their knowledge, the puku of their knowledge was based on living in harmony and at one with the environment. So they were, I guess you could call them, it's a lot of observation that went on in every area. I look at navigation, for example, how acute observation skills had to be in order to navigate the Pacific Ocean. And likewise, they were very closely attuned to the forest, the river, again the ocean, or the skies. Yeah, very, very complex knowledge system. Our value system started to change because we were Christianised, and through that process, which was basically a Western system, was adopted. And it was, I think it was quite integral, the Christianisation, because so strong was our adherence and our belief into that wairuatanga of Christianity, that I guess we believed along the way that all the other givens of the Western system, which we all know goes right back to Roman times and so on and so forth, were the new way to go. For example, in the Waipu catchment, in 30 years, 80% of the catchment was cleared. So if you to look at other societies globally, where you've got the same sort of picture of degradation, environmental degradation, particularly with erosion, such as China and other countries, those pictures happened over centuries, even millennia, whereas for us, so we had the mass deforestation over 100 years, and what we have now is an environmental catastrophe that we have to deal with. Yeah, we need to bring back, we definitely need to live our values such as kaitiakitanga, mana whenua. If you really looked at that concept, there's all facets to mana whenua, and it's about not just us deriving from the whenua, but giving back, because no one else is going to do it but us. I mean, we are the mana whenua, and I think we just have to really wake up and admit that this is our legacy, and we've got to deal with it, and we can do that in a very strategic way, but some things have to give, and the models of economic development will need to be revisited, and the whole ideology of capitalism will have to go, basically, if we are to maintain our status as tangata whenua and as mana whenua, because I believe that if we don't lead the way and make those critical changes in our development, we're just going to end up beggars on the street. We'll be taken over, basically. I think we just need to understand that there are ways of doing things that can help us to bring back the health and well-being, I'll call it, of our lands and our waters. And some of that, those ways of doing, and some of that knowledge will be based in te ao Māori, and some of it will be universal. And I think in terms of, our training, our education, our mātauranga, development of our mātauranga through our reo, we have to really look at these new ways of doing things and these, things such as permaculture, organic farming, new economic models that aren't necessarily based on contributing to the GDP or being at the behest of, a world market and the World Bank and all those other, foreign and multinational corporations. I think we can actually look at our own self-sufficiency first, and anything over and above that, perhaps. I think we need to look at new things like, for Ngati Porou, I'd like us to become more involved in IT, and things such as eco and adventure tourism, where we can actually utilise what we have and build what we have and create and reforest. And it's got to be a native, because with the native tree, over time, and it's quite a long period of time, you return the nutrition to the soil, biodiversity will return, we will actually be practicing our knowledge systems more, enhancement of water quality, all those issues, our cultural, our social, all those things. So we need to look at new ways of doing things and move away from the agrarian model, move away from the monoculture of the pine tree. I mean, the pine is, look what's happened in Te Araroa. Two forestry gangs shut down just like that because the price of the log has dropped. Now, those families have no income. And that's what we're susceptible to. And it really is in us, but there's so much for us to consider, particularly at the tribal administrative level and the tribal governance level. We really have to look at our leadership and the decisions that we're making. I'm not saying that we can't change things overnight, because a lot of people are still stuck in the way of doing and what they believe is right and earning a buck. But I think that we can introduce more holistic and diverse ways of economic development, such as, like, I've heard the term food security, during my time on the board, but I think that the idea of food security that's being bandied is not the food security that we need. So we do need to have a look at what happens if we do have another storm flood event, and the truck can't come into Ngati Porou to bring all the food that we buy from the shop. Are we able to survive? Well, we need to look at what we'll have. We'll have pigs in the bush, we'll have some other hooved animals. We don't really have food crops. We've got to look at all those things, and we've got to look at more self-sufficiency for our people. And if we looked at our training and our education again, we could actually introduce a lot more onto the marae through our marae hapu development. I think is going to be integral, because the kind of work that we need to do has to be done in natural large groupings, and it has to happen on land, and we're the landowners. So I think there needs to be a lot more resource going into building the capability of landowners. I'm very interested to see the recommendations of the Ture Whenua Māori Act review. And yes, I see a corporate takeover in that review. But that's me personally. I mean, I'm a lawyer, a trained lawyer, and again, I think our role as the rūnanga is to empower and to shift development and to build capability in our hapu. I think over time, it's not about building an empire within the rūnanga, that the rūnanga is a means to an end. And having said that, there's a place for iwi governance and a place for iwi politics, but really, if we're to make the changes that will ensure the survival of our society as Ngati Porou, it has to go back to the land, to the landowners who are the whānau and the hapu. And if we can do that, then we're doing the right thing.